Baby, you got me go crazy. The things you do, oh my baby. Baby, you got me go crazy. The things you do, oh my baby. Baby, you got me go.
Hey family, it's Jumi and I am here for another video. I'm sorry, I'm kind of excited. Today, it's actually going to be pretty exciting because we're going to talk about low porosity. Many of you might be more familiar on my page with thin and fine hair, but I do also have low porosity hair as well. So we're gonna have a little discussion about that today. First thing that we have to cover is what exactly is low porosity hair. Honestly, I didn't even start hearing about porosity until maybe 2 years ago. That's when it really started to become a thing. You know, there's like progressions of like natural hairism. And then, you know, porosity is like the boss level. You get what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, you already got your hair type, you already got your hair density, your strands, all that. But then it comes to porosity. Hair porosity in general is just how your hair can readily take in moisture. If you take a strand of your hair is covered with cuticles, with hair cuticles. Maybe you can think of like a scale of a fish. Like fish scales. Gosh, this bell. When it comes to low porosity hair, the cuticles lie very, very flat. If you look at these blinds behind me, imagine this being low porosity hair. Moisture really can't come in, or light, but let's say moisture, it can't come in. It deflects water. So it doesn't really easily take in water. Regular porosity hair, it's regularly opened, I don't know. So that type of hair can take in moisture and it can keep moisture pretty well. Usually that's like the best type of porosity to be. Then you have high porosity hair and your hair cuticles are all the way opened. So usually hair like this it's more damaged. You probably have high porosity hair from having like relaxers, and dyeing your hair can increase the porosity of your hair because it has to lift the hair shaft, well, at least when it comes to hair dye, to allow the color to get in. So those are different types of porosity. Usually with low porosity hair, usually it's more shiny. I know someone mentioned that my hair might not be low porosity because it's not shiny. That's only because my hair is kinky and I like it very fluffy. But if my hair is very moisturized and I twist it up, it's actually pretty shiny. Sometimes it just looks dull, maybe because it's dry. And this is not a cut and dry rule for porosity. It's just, it could be one of the characteristics of low porosity hair. So how can you tell if your hair is low porosity? There is a lot of different tests. The most reliable, and I say reliable because to me, out of all of them, I think it's the most reliable, besides having it under a microscope and looking for yourself, is the water test. I always thought I had high porosity hair just because like my hair was always dry and I would moisturize it, but it was still dry. So I thought, okay, well, I guess I have high porosity hair. It wasn't until I think I was detangling my hair almost 2 years ago. I put my hair, like my shed hair, in the toilet and it was floating. And I remember like, I was like, ding! It's like something in my head, just like a light bulb went off. And I was like, oh, that explains a lot. It was like I had a mini epiphany. But if you take a few strands of your hair, if you have like a cup of water and you put your hair in there and leave it for like 10 minutes and it's still floating, most likely you have high porosity hair. If your hair is like somewhere in the middle, it's not sinking, it's not floating, you have normal porosity hair. If it just falls all the way to the bottom, you have high porosity hair. Some other tests that I've seen is the strand test, that you take a strand of your hair and you run your fingers down like one strand of your hair and you see if you feel bumps. I don't really think that's very reliable, especially for kinky hair, because since our hair has so many kinks, it's not curly. Curly hair curls, kinky hair bends and it kinks. So when I feel the length of my hair, I feel bumps, but why would I feel such visible bumps within my head? I don't know. Do you guys get what I'm trying to say? I don't think that test is as reliable, especially if you have kinky hair, because your hair is going to be bumpy because it kinks. So the best test for me to suggest in particular is the water test. So the do's and don'ts of low porosity hair. Here we go. The biggest do, clarify. Clarify, clarify, clarify. I cannot stress this enough when it comes to low porosity hair. Low porosity hair cannot handle buildup at all. When it comes to me, on my whole hair journey in the beginning, how my hair used to just be dry and start breaking, it was because I would be moisturizing my hair, re-moisturizing it with heavy products that weren't doing anything for my hair, and it would just dry out my hair and I wouldn't wash my hair. It was like shampoo was such a dirty word 2 years ago in the natural hair community. I did not shampoo. I try to co-wash, but I can't co-wash if I'm using products that build up. I co-wash now, personally I co-wash mid-week, but every single week I make sure I clarify. And it depends on the products I was using earlier that week if I'm going to use clay or shampoo. I use a sulfate-free shampoo, but I usually always lean more towards the sulfate-free shampoo. You don't want to use a shampoo that's too harsh on your hair, but you do want to make sure that your hair is clean. I cannot, look y'all, I can't stress this enough. Clean hair. If your hair is not clean, nothing's gonna get inside your hair. So make sure, if you have low porosity hair, you are keeping it clean. Not squeaky, squeaky, squeaky rough, but clean, because products will not work on your hair if your hair is not clean. So that's the biggest do. Do not use silicones. And I know I talked a little bit in my last video about me using silicones and trying to dabble into that, but I would really suggest, if you just found out your hair is low porosity and you're struggling with it, go curly girl. Go curly girl. Silicones, they stick to your hair and they can't really be removed if you don't have a harsh shampoo to remove it. Me, now I use silicones infrequently because I feel like they work better, because since my hair is low porosity and fine hair, I think my fine hair benefits from infrequent protein treatments. So I do try to use protein treatments like once a month, and they do have silicones. So that's the only reason why I do use silicones. But if you are new to this and you have low porosity hair, just try it. Try to go curly girl. Avoid ingredients that build up on top of your hair, especially silicone. Avoid that. Do low porosity. Do use humectants. What are humectants? Humectants are ingredients such as glycerin, honey, those are usually the products that come to my mind is glycerin. But you have to be careful with glycerin and humectants, because if you do not live in a humid area such as Florida and you live in a drier area, or it's winter time and your winters are very dry, humectants can actually draw moisture away from your hair, because since there's not any moisture in the environment, it can actually dry out your hair a bit. So be careful with the overload with glycerin. But if you do have low porosity hair, things like that draw moisture to your hair because your hair can't even hold on to it anyway. So it kind of keeps this moist environment, not moist, but you know, this kind of hydrated environment going on in your hair. So that is the ingredients that you really want to look for if you are low porosity. Do not overload on protein. Don't do it. Proteins just stay on top of the hair and they make it dry. Since it's proteins, they harden the hair, which is why I realized things like wash and goes never worked for me, at least with gel that was very heavy with protein, because my hair would just dry out afterwards. Like, where was the protein gonna go? Where? Just sit on top of my hair. That's why my hair was so dry. If you look at my wash and go fail, that is the biggest reason why it failed, is because of the gel I use. Do not overload on protein. There's a lot of products that you can use every day, but if you're low porosity, you want to avoid things like hydrolyzed soap proteins, hydrolyzed wheat protein, hydrolyzed amino acids, all that stuff. Those hydrolyzed proteins, you want to avoid them in your daily regimen. Now, once again, if your hair does fall in between low porosity and fine hair, I still believe that if you have fine hair, you can benefit from infrequent, not on your everyday, infrequent protein treatments. But for the most part, if you have low porosity hair, you want to avoid those ingredients on the regular, because your hair will feel dry, because the protein, like I said, it's not going anywhere. Your hair doesn't absorb. Do use heat. This was a big lesson that I learned going natural, and when it comes to deep conditioning and all that, because I felt deep conditioning never worked for me, because it would sit on top of my hair. Like, I would put it on, take it off, rinse it off, and I'm like, okay, well, what did it really do? Definitely you want to use heat, whether directly or indirect heat. Most of the time when I deep condition now, I just do the greenhouse. I put the plastic cap, then I put a satin bonnet, then I put 2 beanies on top of my head, and I just kind of wear that for the whole day instead of sitting underneath like a dryer and putting heat. If you have a dryer or a steamer, like an overhead hair dryer or a steamer, I have the portable ones that you hook up with your blow dryer. Those are very good too. So I would suggest when you do deep condition your hair, do use heat, either directly or indirectly. But if you don't, products will sit on top of your hair. What's it gonna do? You wasted money. So make sure you use heat, especially when you're deep conditioning. Do not use heavy products. Goes back again with the buildup. If you're using heavy products that have a lot of oils and butters and just like, it's just very heavy, your hair is not going to absorb it and it's just gonna leave your hair in a greasy mess. So you want to avoid heavy waxes. Like castor oil is pretty heavy. I know like everyone loves all these oils and loves all these heavy products on their hair, but if you have low porosity hair, your hair is not going to take, even if it's like a penetrating oil. I've had a lot of times that I use shea butter on my hair or extra virgin olive oil on my hair, and I put it in maybe Sunday. Wednesday, Thursday, my hair is still greasy. And then my scalp kind of like, I don't know, like I get dandruff on my scalp. So I have to be really careful about how much heavy products that I'm using on my hair, because it's not going to, like, it's going to sit right there. Like, can you imagine Wednesday, it's Thursday and my hair is still greasy? Does not make sense. Try to use lighter products on your hair. Now this is a do. So do use lighter oils. You want to use oils that are like lighter, just so that you still have to seal your hair is not a greasy mess by the end of the week. Oils like grapeseed oil, jojoba oil. I don't suggest coconut oil just because it's a protein based oil, so it can dry some people's hair out, and it's kind of like in between. It's not heavy but it's not light. It's like it's kind of there. You want to make sure they're using lighter products on your hair, because you just don't want the buildup, because your hair is just going to be dry and just keeping in dryness. Do use more basic products on wash day. When I say basic, I'm talking about when it comes to acids and base. I know a lot of people love using apple cider vinegar for their hair, and if you love that and it works great for your scalp, that's great, but I would suggest apple cider vinegar only as a post wash, not to actually wash your hair, because when it comes to acids and bases, acids close the cuticles of your hair. So people with normal porosity or whatever, you just wash your hair, you want to keep all the moisture, acids would keep it closed. Basic products, they open the cuticles. That's why things like clay work really well for my hair, and I really felt like my hair was getting moisturized because it lifted the cuticles a little bit. So some people, they talk about baking soda. I've used baking soda on my hair, but I don't really recommend that because it can be a little too harsh. But as far as clay is known and people do use on their hair, and it's around the same level. I know like a lot of, it's kind of weird because a lot of people are complaining about like, oh, people are using baking soda on their hair, but I'm like, clay is almost on the same level baking soda is, but I feel like it's a little bit more safer and it does what it's supposed to do. I feel like it cleanses a little better. Try to use something that's a little bit more basic to open up your cuticles. That's a do. You can try that and see how it works for your hair. Now don't come for me, y'all. Don't come like, oh, Jumoke, you told me to go put some baking soda in my hair fell out. Slow down. Just still rewind, slow down. Do your research. The only thing I would actually advocate is clay washes. There are different types of clays to use. There's Rasul clay, there's bentonite clay, there's green clay. You just take your pick on that and see what you can do. Those are all the do's and the don'ts so far that I have for low porosity hair. I know I'm probably missing some, but if you have any other do's and don'ts for low porosity hair that you currently have figured out on your natural hair journey, let us know down in the comments below. Like, I want this to be like a discussion, because I feel like low porosity hair, I feel like a lot of people have low porosity hair, but it's not as talked about. So how do you personally take care of your low porosity hair? If you can let me know and let your fellow low porosity sisters know in the comment section, that'd be great. Also, don't forget to thumbs up this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you thumbs it up. Make sure you subscribe to keep seeing more of this type of content. And don't worry, the tutorials and all that stuff is coming, but you know. And thank you all so much again for the support. See you guys later. Bye.